Yo, what is on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Before we get into today's video, go ahead and smash the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you guys can stay in the loop on all the videos to come. And yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. So if you guys can tell, right now I'm in the F80 M3's cockpit. So this is a 2015 BMW M3 and it has a good amount of packages. It has the executive package, the carbon roof, carbon trim all around. It's extremely nice, but after spending a lot of time with this car and running like my day-to-day errands and spirited driving and over my trials and tribulation and just driving this thing all around and, you know, putting it in every condition, I honestly enjoyed mostly everything about it. But there were a few pet peeves and a few issues that at least came to my attention as I was just driving the car. And I wanted to try to be unbiased and not say that this thing is perfect, because it definitely has a couple things that I personally don't like. And this is all subjective, it's all opinionated. Some of y'all might not feel the same way. In today's video, I'm gonna go over the top 3 things that I disliked about the BMW F80 M3. So number 1 on the list, guys, would be the speakers. And now don't get me wrong, like I love the sound system on this car. It's one of the first things that I look for in a car. As soon as I sit down, I don't even drive. I sit there, I play my music, try to get a feel for the cockpit, because the sound system goes beyond the speakers. It goes into how well noise gets kept out of the car and a bunch of other things, which keeps in line with driver focus. And you know, this really is the cockpit of the car where everything goes down. But I'll say the speakers, they were great. You know, they produce a great amount of bass, the treble's good. But one thing I noticed is as I was cranking the volume up, and I don't know if it's just my phone specifically, but I started to get some sort of feedback. And what I mean by that was everything just sounded a little like blotched, and it didn't sound as crisp as I expected it to. I guess what happened was the bass and the treble and everything just coming together. As I turned the volume up, it got kind of distorted. And I don't know if this is a one-off thing or like a common issue with the BMW F80 M3s. For the most part, I've heard the sound systems are pretty great. I know a lot of people go for aftermarket options, all the audio files out there. But I thought the sound system sounded like pretty great overall. It's just when I turned the volume up, it got distorted. And even in the sound system, like I went to the multimedia and I went to adjust everything. I went to tone, and you know, I have the bass not crazy high. The treble is not crazy high. You know, it's not anything obscene to where I would think it would make the sound system start to distort. And as I turn the volume up, and I would love to show y'all, but I'll get copyrighted if I do it and play like some copyrighted music out here, but I will say like it distorted. And the sound system itself, like the speakers replicate noise pretty great. I mean, they're all around. You have all the tweeters, you have speakers in the door, you have speakers on the dashboard or the underseat subs, and all on the deck. And you know, there's speakers all over the car, and that wasn't the issue. Like it sounds pretty great, but as I started to turn the volume up higher and higher, it just started to distort. And I really did notice that. And just the number one thing that bothered me, because I was like so happy with the sound system and everything else about the car, then as I put the volume up, I just noticed that. And it wasn't crazy high up either, which is the interesting thing. Maybe it was a one-off thing. I would love for y'all to leave a comment down below if you've ran into this issue before, or if maybe it was a connectivity issue with Bluetooth. But it's something I've noticed really ever since I sat down in the car and, you know, started playing my music. So that was really upsetting to me. Number 2 on that list of things that I love / you know, dislike would probably be the dual clutch transmission, guys. And I really do love the dual clutch, you know, system and everything. Like I love having a manual that shifts like an automatic. You know, your paddle shifters are great, but overall it's not just like an automatic with paddle shifters. We're talking like milliseconds it takes to shift. We're talking no interruption of the power band. It really is an amazing system. You feel super in control. You feel super linked to the car. And the dual clutch honestly has been the number 1 thing I've loved about this car, guys. Like it's made me appreciate the car in so many different ways. The only negatives, first gear is choppy, guys. Like first gear is not exactly the smoothest, especially when you're going in reverse. On top of that, just long term with the maintenance and everything else, dual clutch transmissions are not known to be, you know, super reliable. They're actually extremely sensitive. Now, before y'all go blow up my comments and say like I'm trashing it and saying it's unreliable and this and that, what I'm saying is long term, it's kind of hard to own one and just get by doing minimal maintenance. Like you're gonna have to start going into things. They're very sensitive. I have seen tons and tons of people mess their, you know, dual clutch transmissions up. Anytime you park the car, you have to use the parking brake. Otherwise, the car's gonna continue to roll. Even when you do that, it just makes me uneasy. Anytime I've parked on a hill I've pulled up and you can feel the car move, and as you're getting out the car you hear creaks and cracks. And I don't know, guys, I just feel like long term, as much as I love the system, I don't want anybody to think I'm trashing it or, you know, being biased or anything like that. I love it. It has literally been the #1 thing I've enjoyed about this M3, but I just know long term there's so many things, moving parts inside of there, and maintenance is going to be, you know, crucial. And on top of maintenance, just long term, it's going to be hard to own one in the long run. So #2 on that list, as much as I love it, I don't think it's perfect, and that is why it comes in #2 on my list of things I love, but also I feel like they could be perfected later on in the future. But so take that #2 with a grain of salt. All right, so now we're moving into #3 on the list. And #3, the third thing that I don't necessarily hate it, right? I just dislike it in some way. Maybe that's a better way to put this. #3 on that list would be the electronic power steering. Now, electronic power steering can be amazing for a lot of different reasons. There's no power steering fluid on this car. If you lift this car up, you'll see the electronic steering power pump on the bottom, and you'll see a whole bunch of grease and stuff because it's all greased up, but you're not going to see any fluid. You don't have to top up anything. You don't have to do anything like that. But the electronic power steering is great for a lot of different reasons. It's so effortless as you're turning the wheel and as you're moving the car around, but it doesn't feel as inspired and connected to the road in certain aspects. I think BMW's done an amazing job in the M's, or really all of their cars now, that you can adjust the electronic power steering to be more stiff and rigid and etc., and feel more like hydraulic. But at the end of the day, hydraulic power steering is what I've always become accustomed to, and the thing I love about hydraulic power steering is you feel every divot, you feel every curvature in the road, you feel the wheel pull here and there. You just feel very connected to the road. And albeit BMW has done a pretty great job of making a car have electronic power steering but also feel like completely immersed and connected to the road. They've done a great job at that. It doesn't feel quite the same. And also noted that the electronic steering power pump can be extremely expensive to replace. Again, one of those things in the future that you got to kind of look out for. It can get really expensive to replace, especially if you're in conditions with a lot of rain or snow or gravel or etc. You never know, it could get dinged up and it could prematurely fail because of the heat, and because there's just so many different variables that a regular power steering pump wouldn't fail due to. But it's also a great thing on the contrary, because it doesn't leak, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that. It doesn't have those common like gripes and issues. So again, it's not something I necessarily hate, it's just something I dislike in some regard. And if you look right here, you'll see the option that the electronic power steering is set to. So right here we have it in sport mode, and you can see like right here you also have the throttle. So throttle's inefficient, but you have your power steering set to sport. This can easily be tuned up right here by clicking this button, and as you click it, you'll see it gives you different options. So comfort is obviously going to be extremely easy to move the wheel. I'm talking like minimal resistance. And then as you click this button, you'll see sport will tighten everything up, make you feel more engaged. Sport Plus is what I love the most. Feels extremely nice, basically makes the car feel all around extremely rigid. The input that you put into the steering wheel is actually outputted pretty accurately. You can actually make the car go exactly where you want to go. But I do gotta applaud BMW because they still, even though they changed things up, they still gave you the option of being able to change the input to the car and how it feels. So it really doesn't even feel like electronic power steering when you're driving the car. The car still is rigid. It still, you know, has that accurate feedback. So I do enjoy that. So I will give BMW props on that part. But that would still have to be #3 on the list of things that I dislike in some way. And now #4, I didn't even want to add this in the list, but this is an honorable mention because I hate this on every car, guys, is the auto off button. Why would you have any car that automatically turns itself off to save gas? You're completely obliterating the starter in like every way. You're making the starter work so hard. Instead of you turning your car on like 10 times a day, now you're turning your car on like hundreds of times a day just driving. The auto off feature is the absolute most stupid thing any car manufacturer could add. They say it's for fuel efficiency and this and that, but I'm telling you right now, if you have that feature on and you're not realizing, the bigger goal is to get you into the shop, because every time you turn the car on and off, you're cutting the lubrication, starting the lubrication process back up. You're cutting the ignition, starting the ignition back up. You're cutting everything off and having everything re-fire back up, and that puts a lot of wear and a lot of strain on the engine in the long run. Like, don't do that. Turn that feature off. And 99% of times, I don't even call this a feature, I call it a ploy, because that's exactly what this is. To make your car turn on and off over and over and over again, guys, that is just absolutely terrible for the engine. Do not have this on. Keep it off. If you have Beamer code or something like that, make this stay off indefinitely. This is such a terrible thing to add to a car. It makes your whole car's engine, etc., just strain itself so much more. So turn that off and avoid yourself a headache, and avoid replacing a starter at like 90,000 miles, because that's still pretty low mileage in regards to a lot of things. So before you have to replace your starter at 90,000 miles or something, make sure that this is off and do yourself a favor. Well, I hope y'all found this video helpful. I know if I didn't have an F80 M3 and I never drove one, etc., I would definitely appreciate this video, because it kind of just gives you a little bit more insight on some of the features and stuff behind the car that you wouldn't exactly pay attention to if you just drove the car once or twice. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and smash that thumbs up. Comment down below if you have any questions at all, and I mean anything. My Instagram will be linked down below, izzy.e9x. Any questions you have, throw them my way and I'll answer them. If you're not subscribed, smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can stay in the loop on all the videos to come. As always, I really do love you guys, and I appreciate all the support, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out.